Wakasama, wale fwaya mwamba Emmanuel. Wakasama wakulira. Tule fwaya mwamba wesu Emmanuel. Chipale ni PF. Tule fwaya mwamba wesu Emmanuel. Wakuito mwele. Emmanuel mwamba mbasata. Emmanuel. Wale fwaya. Emmanuel mwamba mbasata. Emmanuel. Wakasama wakulira.
Brief. Thank you very much. Today we are reviewing President Upnd Hichilema's 2 years in office. You remember that we went to an election on 12th August 2021, and President Upnd Hichilema assumed office on 24th August 2021. And I think this is the best time to dedicate this month to the reviewing of President Hichilema's stay in office, the UPND stay in office, their solutions, what's failing, what can be done better. I think we need to dedicate this entire month just to review why did we go to an elections? Why did Zambians vote in the manner they voted? The euphoria of 2021, where the UPND won that election with a huge margin. President Upnd Hichilema won with 2.8 million votes and at 59%, and his predecessor, who was the incumbent, scored 1.8 million votes at 38.7%. Hichilema became the third president to beat an incumbent. The first one was President Frederick Chiluba, who beat Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda, and then Michael Sata. This was in 1991. Then Michael Sata beat Rupia Banda, who was an incumbent, in 2011. So Hichilema joined the three presidents to beat an incumbent head of state. There were a lot of expectations. What were the issues? Number one was the economy. The economy had taken a knock. We had one of the worst droughts in 2015. This drought in 2015 was the worst in 30 years. And remember, in Zambia, when we have a drought that affects our land, we'll have critical shortage of power because the two are related. You will not have enough water in your dams, especially that most of our dams are based in the driest part of our country. And other than the bad economy, we had this, people are already calling. I'll advise you to wait until I've finished with just a brief, then I'll ask you to make the cause. 2017 was another drought, 2019, and then the big one, COVID-19 in 2020, where for the first time our economy registered a negative growth of about 3.5%. And all these crises were underlying bigger issues such as poverty, such as diseases, such as unemployment, especially the one that affects our people, and generally, a bad economy, because we've been battling with an economy since the 60s. The PF, despite massive investment in infrastructure, in roads, bridges, airports, hospitals, power stations, for the first time Zambia became a country that could export power dedicated to many countries, because the PF did a huge investment in power stations, upgrading our power from 1,600 megawatts to 3,500 megawatts. And remember, Zambia's national consumption is only 2,200. So we have a dedicated excess that ZESCO can export. The investment in schools, especially secondary schools, because for the first time you had secondary schools in far-flung areas like Skongo, Mpulungu, brand new schools, Isoka, Lundazi, the PF built, I think, over 110 schools, and most of them are done. Then the dams, because there hasn't been an investment in dams, we pay lip service to the agricultural sector. The PF investment in dams to try to begin to ramp up irrigation for our farmers and even to grow crops even in winter. This now has become a reality. The PF also increased the FISIP program. They had found a FISIP program which was for poverty alleviation run under community development, and it was upgraded to be run by Ministry of Agriculture as a food production entity, and the numbers rose to 1.1 million smallholder farmers that were benefiting from fertilizer input, and the funds jumped, the dedicated funds jumped from somewhere around $40–50 million to $300 million a year. And it showed, in fact, despite our drought, we had bumper harvests from 2015 up to 2021. The bumper harvests are remarkable, and for the first time this country could produce above 3 million metric tons, thanks to the measures, especially on the FISIP program. Why did the PF lose power? Again, there were claims of corruption allegations, I think, that were never attended to. The perception grew that the PF wasn't attending to corruption. The issues of political violence and cadreism. Our people don't like violence. They want, when they go to markets and bus stations, they want to be there peacefully and without violence. So the issues of cadreism, and then there were some issues around the rule of law and the conduct of the police. So despite this massive investment in the economy, in infrastructure development, the PF lost power, especially because of these periphery issues. 2 years on for the UPND government, what have they done better? What have they done worse? The UPND will tell you that they've done some recruitment in health and education, where they employed about 42,000 workers at one go. They'll tell you about CDF, that the Constituency Development Fund has been raised from 1.6 million to 25 million and now 28 million, and they're targeting it to be doubled to 56 million. And they'll tell you that they've introduced free education and that they reinstated meal allowances at the University of Zambia. Although the beneficiaries at university, both Copperbelt and Lusaka, are very few. The numbers are extremely low, because take University of Zambia, you give about 3,000 students, but you have you have a population, student population of excess of 30,000. So that goes just to be a drop in the ocean. CBU similar. There are a lot of people outside the meal allowance bracket, because you have over 14,000 students and only 2,000 are benefiting. But it's a start. What have they done wrong? The UPND, I think, is a great disappointment to a lot of people, because it failed to attend to the issue of the economy. We have the highest cost of living, I think, in the last 30 years. Look at the price of mealie meal. Look at the price of sugar. Look at the price of cooking oil. Look at the price of salt. Look at the price of electricity. Look at the price of fuel. Just look at the price of everything else. It's extremely expensive to our people that are struggling in a bad economy, who, especially for the few that work, who have low salaries, and these low salary increments do not commensurate with the issues around inflation and the cost of, just a high cost of living. Our people can barely survive. Why is such a great disappointment to our people? Is because President Hakainde Hichilema touted himself as an economic manager. That was his message for the entire 15 years he was in office. He said he was an economist, he was a University of Zambia graduate, he is a technocrat, he's run companies, and that he would come to resolve the economy without much ado. We have seen that he has struggled. The exchange rate is not stable, and Zambia is an import-oriented country, and we import nearly everything, especially that our manufacturing and industrial sector remains at nascent level. So this has brought problems to our importers and exporters because they barely can plan. There are many issues that the president has failed to attend to. I think largely because he took the IMF as the first resort. I would have preferred that the IMF, I could have taken the IMF as a last resort, a bank of last resort, not first resort, because they immediately brought these harsh prescriptions: remove subsidies on agriculture, remove subsidies on fuel, remove subsidies on electricity. That is why our electricity is very, very expensive, because we've allowed ERB and ZESCO to do this multi-year increment, and they've been given of an increment for the next 5 years, 17% every year. And our people are already suffering under the burden of this high cost of electricity combined with high cost of fuel. That's why for me I would have put the IMF to the end, not at the beginning, because there are things you need to do as an economy. Then the much touted foreign debt and debt restructuring hasn't gone very well, because what we've done is we've just restructured it. We've missed the opportunity to have that debt cancelled. And remember, since 2020, December 2020, the Zambian government has not been servicing its debt. Even the surplus money that we seem to have, pushing it to CDF, is as a result of that, because Zambian government has not been servicing, especially its foreign debt. This is because of the mechanisms that were put up by the previous Minister of Finance, Honorable Waliangandu, under the G20 mechanisms, where he said, no, in light of the COVID and the COVID crisis, we'll suspend debt service and debt service payments. And he was allowed to, he was given a period of 1 year with a grace period of 3 years. That 3 years is coming to an end this year, and will be obliged to pay that debt. There is heavy reliance on foreign investment. You've seen the president has taken, I think, the largest number of trips by any president. He's taken 50 trips under 2 years. And bulk of that is to scout for investment. We've put a huge burden on foreign investment that they should come and rescue our economy. I don't know how good that will work. We have an investor, local investor in First Quantum, who I think have been the largest investor of $1.3 billion to open a new mine, nickel mine. But even that, the bulk of that money is coming from ZRA tax refunds, the VAT refunds that they were owed. We haven't seen meaningful investment. We have seen pledges, especially from the energy sector, where they're banding around 2 billion, 1 billion, 600 million. We are yet to see that investment beyond the investment pledges. So I'll invite you to join me in this review of the Upnd government in 2 years. Call us on 0773 783 785 and 0773 841 872. Those are the numbers to reach us. Before that, I've got a few videos to play. The first bulk of videos is relates to I think to the meal shortage that we suffered in the last few months, and now the meal price is quite high. Today I passed through ZNS and I saw there was a large queue. People, you must have seen the pictures that I posted on my page, where there was a large queue at ZNS Silverest, with our people queuing up to attempt to buy cheaper meal. And then the fascination by the current president with his predecessor. He seems so focused on the PF and his predecessor that he seems to be paralyzed to do anything new. He keeps on. At every turn, both his government and his ministers, his party officials, and the president himself have been leading, talking about their predecessor, and they don't seem to have any other program other than to talk about their predecessor. So we'll play those few videos. Then at the end of it, I invite you to come and join me in the debate for those given numbers.
I, Hakainde S.E. Chilema, having been constitutionally elected to the office of the President of the Republic of Zambia, do swear that I will faithfully and diligently discharge my duties and perform the functions in this high office, that I will uphold and maintain the Constitution and the laws of Zambia, and that I will dedicate my abilities to the service and welfare of the people of Zambia without fear, favor, or ill will. So help me God.
A tidbit of what this copper belt was. The journey we walked, the tear gas, so many things. One time after, alela ndata alebwererapo nakabiri aletupuma. 22-year-old girl Mapens Chibulo. We had a police permit and a bullet was put at the back of her head. That bullet was meant for me. So when muntu alela ndata ndebwererapo, what does he think I am? What does he think you are? What does he think the children of Joseph Kaunda, Lawrence Banda, Mapens Chibulo, Grazia Matapa, what does he think about those women who were thrown in a cell together with me? Nishi ale tuntun kanya uro nishi. Must not misunderstand each other in this country. We must not misunderstand each other in this country. We must not abuse each other in this country. Ndekutika. All the time I'm listening, I said, these people. We say, bale tonton kanya tatwa kwa tamano. Zambia.
Once we were declared winners, on the 16th, I guess I'm right, 16th of August. I think it was 16th of August. 15th or 16th of August. I knew, Frank, that if I did not provide leadership, there would be deaths and killings in the compounds and in the villages, because the way our colleagues treated us, killing people, maiming people, Kamugodi there, bullets missing us, taking Lawrence Banda and leaving his young children and wife, taking Joseph Kaunda, taking Sama, bullets. If I did not do what I did on that day, Frank, at the community house, and said nobody will revenge, nobody will avenge, nobody will wage war against a fellow citizen, citizens will have died. And this country today would have been a different country. You wouldn't recognize it. And I knew the blood would be on my head. I would never allow that. Even against those who would have wanted me dead. I don't wish my colleague anything. Frank, I'm available to talk. Talking is the answer. I've always been available. I don't want to review many things here because I'm responsible. My colleague and I talk. Be known to you. But what is said in public is a different matter. So how do I deal with such a situation? Someone is not telling the truth there. There are crimes that were committed before, and conversations took place, how to treat those issues within the law. I advise, let's treat this within the law. But citizens are not aware. But someone goes on a platform and says, there is no communication. Now, the day I reveal, if it's necessary, you'll be shocked.
The shortage of mealie meal in Kawe has persisted, with thousands queuing up to buy the commodity as early as 5 a.m. in the morning at ShopRite and Simba Milling.
Unga twashupi kwa ala kukombo ni vale chita 220 bambi 210 so le kukulomba kula pangama line kweba timbi tushiteko bungo bwachi
kwaba so nomba twayamba ile nshira ya kudala ya mu fedro ya kwandati twamba kula bula mabunga twetantama line no kulala pano au kwetupepi kula buko bushiku kisa mutatu atantikiro bunga batantamine pabunga bantu ine life ya kutantamina pabunga abantu balafira mungata control situation bantu ama mirasi nabakwata mabunga bena balafirisha bana ukutati ukuko aso kulinsala batwala baposi kwa mano bafirishe kuna muno mukabwe ukutati amabunga yafule mu shops tule kitanga cya kutetwa bafwe kupera abantu amabunga
wanu kufuma 01 ino nshata turashitobunga mshato wala ikalashani awo mwandi onka tulesha abana abanono twabasha tweza mukongera obunga kuno natuchula twalomba twapapa tatwesheni ko mwebuteko
ngatakuli nimununu ine muituke lili lya ShopRite emo buleisa mukombo nitamuli ubunga mukombo ni balesha 280 250 akasaka kawe.
During a radio program in Kawe, Opposition Democratic Party leader Hari Kalaba has urged government to be proactive in addressing the issue of mealie meal shortages and high prices.
Mealie meal is a staple food. It's a very staple food. And the government should take interest, keen interest, in ensuring that this problem is investigated thoroughly so that it is not looked at as being an artificial problem.
Meanwhile, government says the mealie meal shortages in Kawe is artificial. Central Province Permanent Secretary Bernard Chomba has since directed the state police to impound trucks transporting the commodity out of the province, which is creating low supply of the commodity on the market.
Meal in Kawe particularly is artificial in a sense that what is happening is that some milling companies that are being subsidized by government, instead of selling their
telling the country that we have very good news in a very few months, because we are getting serious support from the government of Zambia by giving us opportunity to ship maize from Zambia to Kenya. I am getting land to grow maize to bring to Kenya as a short-term, immediate measure to address the problem, because we can grow maize, they can grow maize in 4 months. I want to tell you, by the end of August, we will have brought down the cost of unga to less than 120 shillings. We are not negotiating. I'm even going extra miles in contracting farmers to do farming for me. In another few weeks, I'm going there to give farmers contracts to do maize for me to buy to bring to Kenya. Whatever they produce, I will take, because the cost of production in Zambia is quite low. I am going to get a ton of,
what percentage
my friend, I'm getting $300 per ton. If you were to work out that arithmetic, $300 per ton means what? Is when you say a dollar probably won't be, today's at 130, although 130 times 300 is 3,900. That is 3,900 is what the Zambians are likely to sell their maize to me for a ton. So if a ton is 1,000 kilos, so 3,900 divided by 1,000 means that I will buy a kilo of maize less than 40 or around 40 shillings. So what I only need to do is negotiate with Tazara readily or anybody else to ship the maize in Kenya. And the worst case scenario, probably even if the transport was to be double, we'll get to 80. So if we were to get maize here a kilo at 80, then we are good to go.
So that will be as soon as August? In
4 months' time, because now, we have to contract them to do the farming for us. Anybody to get in the farmers know who will take that produce. So I'm saying, I've told you the other immediate measure, I've given the permits to the free. to
we're
bring...
talking right now, the United Republic of Tanzania is asking for 1 million metric tons. The Republic of Kenya is asking for 1 million metric tons. As for the Democratic Republic of Congo, they have already, in fact, even advanced payment of approximately 15 million United States dollars to be provided with milimi. We want to provide milimi and not maize, with value addition. And so you can see that demand. It's tremendous. And because of that demand, obviously it will affect the domestic dynamics as well. This is why you are seeing that the price of milimi is up.
Thank you very much. We played a few videos. You can comment on them. But essentially, we are reviewing President Hakainde Hichilema's 2 years in office. I posted earlier the notice that his government has been characterized by broken promises. Remember, we used to say most of these promises are utopian. They were populist in nature. They were not achievable. You know, he promised that he will reduce the price of milimi to 50 kwacha. Well, the price of milimi is now 300 kwacha. He said fuel will be at 12 kwacha. It's now at 26, 27 kwacha. He said he would reduce electricity tariffs. Well, we are seeing now the highest cost of electricity. He said he would maintain the foreign exchange, especially the dollar, under 12 kwacha. You know that it's now, you can't even predict. It jumps. Today it's at 17 kwacha, tomorrow it's at 20 kwacha, and it's not stable at all. He said he would reduce a bag of fertilizer prices by buying cheaper fertilizer, and he said it would cost not more than 250 kwacha. A bag of fertilizer, 50 kg, is costing in excess of 1,100, 1,200, 1,400. He said he would give farmers 8 bags of fertilizer. The PF were giving 6. What we saw was even a huge reduction. Abantu besubale akanotuma medam. Well, even issues of Bill of Rights, access to information bill, I saw cabinet approving that. We hope that it will see the light of day. He said he would repeal the Public Order Act. They are very quiet on the issue of the Public Order Act. He said he will repeal and replace the Cybersecurity and Cyber Crimes Act. It's now being used against the opposition for criminal defamation, hate speech. This is a law. Even if you've repealed the criminal defamation of the president, the police are using the Cybersecurity and Cyber Crimes Act to harass all of us, the members of the opposition. The president said he would reduce retirement age. Remember, it was increased to 65. He said he will reduce it to 55. Well, what he has done is actually even upgraded it, even for the defense forces that were excluded, because it's envisaged that the defense is usually run by young people below the age of 55, but he has increased even for officers to the age of 55. Then the removal of cadres, and he said he would not remove street vendors from the streets. You know that he has removed the vendors from the street. So the president gave various campaign promises that almost all of them have been broken down. There are a few issues like NAPSA, partial withdrawal, and to increase CDF and free education that he promised. But essentially, he had, most of the promises that he made on corruption, on tribal appointments, on many things, they've not been done. And what happened to that policy to reunite married couples that are in the civil service? Why has it gone quiet? Because they were using this, and even a circular was issued by Secretary to Cabinet, but it hasn't been improved at all. So the performance has been very, very low. And then the bigger issues, we have critical shortage of medicines, medical supplies, laboratory reagents. Our labs are not working in hospitals. We have equipment failure. You can't have any tests done. The president has lost 2 years on KCM and Mopani. Keeps on saying, I'm resolving it, and it's been 2 years. The agricultural sector, other than the export of our national reserve, that has brought food insecurity. He's bungled fertilizer, season in, season out. Even this coming farming season, the fertilizer purchase will be bungled because the president is keen to displace the suppliers that he found with the new suppliers. And another fertilizer program was again cancelled, procurement was cancelled, and they've shortlisted 13 new ones, direct bidding, and that's a matter of serious issues. We have a captured civil society, cooperating partners remarks. Nicholas Woolley, remember his terrible statement that he issued recently. And just over the weekend, the U.S. ambassador, Michael C. Gonzalez, he was at Chief Amusonde's Luanza ceremony for the Lundwe people of Bwengwa. You should see how patronizing his remarks were for an ambassador. Literally, personal praises of the president. It was embarrassing to watch. I hope we can even play that video. So call us 0773 783 785 or 773 841 872. I'm sure my phones are working today. Yes, they are working. And call us so that we can hear your views. So 0773 841 872 and 0773 783 785. Let's hear your comments about the review of the UPND in government. We were discussing how President Hakainde came in with huge euphoria. He said he would change the country, would change the economy for the better, but it has not been. I don't want to miss any call. Please call on 0773 783 785 or 773 841 872. President Hakainde Hichilema won the 12th August 2021 elections with a number of 2.8 million at 59% and his predecessor at 1.8 million. He became the third president to beat an incumbent after Frederick Chiluba beat Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and Michael Chilufya-Sata also beat Rupia Banda. The economy was tethering, is far worse than it was when he found it. There were underlying issues, some historical issues of poverty, diseases, unemployment, lack of opportunities for our young people, expensive university education and bad economy. And President Hakainde rode on these issues that he was Mr. Fix-It and that he would fix it. And despite the massive investment by the PF in infrastructure, in roads, in bridges, in airports, in hospitals, in power stations, in schools, in dams, in township roads, and the vibrant FISI program, the PF still lost power for various reasons. Issues of corruption, issues of political violence, issues of cadreism, the rule of law, and but the heart of it, why they lost power were these peripheral issues. And the UPND promised to turn around the economy. It's been 2 years that they are failing. The UPND and its supporters say, no, the PF did a lot of damage. Look at the debt they left. It's a yoke is that we are failing to come out of the promised debt restructure. And for 2 years, they said they were dealing with debt restructure. And when the debt restructure came, half of it has been restructured with China, where we have contended that there was an opportunity by government to have that debt totally cancelled. But it's been restructured to a period of 12 years to 20 years. They are yet to deal with commercial debt of Eurobond and others, and international financing institutions such as IMF, World Bank, and government hasn't been servicing its debt. They've had some good surplus money because they're not servicing debt, but that's coming to an end at the end of the year. So this debt restructure must work and must work very well, because Zambia will begin to pay. They've had 2 national budgets in 2022 and the current budget of 2023, but this has failed to resolve the issues of the economy, the underlying issues of poverty, diseases, unemployment, and the bad economy, and the issues of the high cost of living. That's what is on the lips of everyone. We want to akwalesa weshenko bunga. My dear brother Chimbakambwili today issued a statement asking the president to lower the price of mealie meal, to put up mechanisms to lower the price of mealie meal. There have been great missed opportunities. Health sector, other than the corruption there, is that there was no need to reinvent the wheel, because now supply of medicine, despite adequate and timely allocation for purchase of medicine, the crisis has not gone away. We have our first caller. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Honorable Mwamba.
Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, thank you. You are talking to Brother Sitari.
Brother Chad, you kindly make your contribution. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling you within Lusaka.
Thank you, sir. Make your contribution, sir.
Thank you so much. First of all, I just wanted to say, I know you used to be my fan during the reign of my beloved President Frederick Chiluba, my brother Emmanuel Mwamba.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I'm literally, I'll be very honest, I'm literally a little bit not comfortable or maybe disappointed because it's like you were a clean person, but you went into a diluted water. Why I'm saying that, I think you don't suit the group that you joined by Emmanuel Mwamba. I know you. I'm saying this from my bottom of my heart. You used to be my fan. Every time when you are talking, I knew that you are talking. Coming to the performance of the UPND, I think they have done a lot. This party for the past few years, I would say 2 years. I'm literally said by my brother Emmanuel Mwamba, you are very much aware. During the PF regime, you are on the TV there. The moment you come out from TV, you need to hide. You need to change the vehicle. Otherwise, cadres will pounce on you. A lot of things changed. Even cadres in the market, I think we are very free. We are very free. We can wear regalia. I'm not a cadre, but we see people how they enjoy. So I think sometimes as opposition, yes, we know that we need opposition to make the government of the day to work. But please, this is our country. It's one Zambia, one nation. We love one another. If somebody is doing good, let's praise. Let's say at least we are heading somewhere. You know, no one is perfect. But I can say that, my brother Emmanuel Mwamba, but he is trying. But it's not that you are perfect for everything. You might fail there and there. But if I see that you are trying, I need to appreciate. We should embrace that spirit as Zambians. This is our country. We need to develop, my brother. Some of these opposition, particularly, I would say particularly the PF, a lot of those guys, we know how they used to behave. To me, even when PF saying rebranding, this is why I'm saying, my brother, think twice. Otherwise, you are making your name dead. Think twice. It's either to move around, it's either just to think twice. I don't want to direct you. Otherwise, being the current the PF that those guys we know, I don't think you are going anywhere, my brother. Otherwise, all the best. I love you, and we love Zambia. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Charlie from Lusaka. He's talking about cars in the market and the political violence that was occurring. I think I have stated that one of the reasons PF lost power was one of those periphery issues, although they did very well at the heart of the economy in building infrastructure. There was an issue of corruption, political violence, cadreism, and issues around the rule of law. And I think when the PF did a postmortem, they accepted that there were mistakes that were made. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ambassador. My name is Seth. I'm calling from within Lusaka.
Your name is who sir?
Seth.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Make your contribution,
okay.
sir.
All right. So, every time I think we have now reached a stage where it's 2 years of the UPN in office, and I think that Zambians, any well-meaning Zambian, should, of course, we want to be reminded about the things that PF did and so on, the bad things, the cadreism and so on. But you see, we have to move away from that because the people decided we don't want this anymore. Yes, the Patriotic Front came in with infrastructure development. They built schools, they built hospitals, they built roads. The Sausage Airport now being called Sausage Airport. But you see, that's the work that they did, and we are able to see and we are able to point at these things and say, this is what they did. This is how they moved. So I think that the politics of not holding this government accountable is not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
What we need is to start pointing out. They came into office, obviously, on the pretext that they will do better than the Patriotic Front. So which means that if they found the dollar at 15, it was going to be at 10. If they found minimum at 120, it was going to be below that. We'll give them a benefit of doubt and we'll give them at least a break. We are not saying bring it to 50 as you promised, but you can even bring it to 100 or 90 or 80, even 70. It's okay. You said you were going to do better than the Patriotic Front. When we move to to fuel, the president was on record in the opposition, said they are middlemen. We are going to remove the middlemen. When we remove the middlemen and the cuts that the PF are getting, we are going to have fuel of 10 kwacha or thereabout. It was at 17. Fuel is at 26 now. These are the issues that we should be talking about. They found the Patriotic Front had, reserves in terms of, a million names. They decided to export, and now we have a crisis. The bag of the milling prices have skyrocketed. You see that? The president has not declared his assets up to now. If he declared, they haven't made that public. So this is the accountability that he promised us. And that's why we are coming back to him and saying, look, sir, we're not asking for much. You promised heaven on earth for the Zambian people. Okay, if he wants us to give him time, he's saying, no, he still has 3 more years. That's fine. But at least the rule of law, he promised accountability. How are we going to hold him accountable if we don't even know how much he declared? It's incumbent on him to say, look, out of goodwill, this is what I declared. Please make it public.
Yeah.
People should not be going to court. No, if he wants to, he told us he's a very accountable man, he's a very transparent leader, and that's what we want to hear. So these things are telling us about, no, we are free now. Even then, HH himself used to have press briefings. I remember his media team used to be on radio stations. Yes, there were incidences of lawlessness here and there, but you cannot paint it that the general, situation was that there was no freedom of speech, of expression. That's not true. They were all over social media. They were all over radio stations and TV stations. So, yes, we are not saying there were no bad elements. They were. But the majority times they enjoyed this, and that freedom as Zambians, we've always enjoyed that. So can we get back to issues? Not these, sentiments we are getting when you talk about issues. People want to talk about things that, exaggerate things that were there and amplify them. No, let's talk issues. Load shedding is slowly creeping in, places are being load shaded and so on. What is happening? We have the PF, left enough, they did a lot, invested in a lot in power generation.
Yeah.
So if they're exporting, why are we exporting and we are letting our people? The tariffs are high now, very, very high. It's not tripled or something like that. So these are the issues we should be speaking to. These are the issues we should be speaking. Corruption, is rampant now. Today we are hearing, whether confirmed, verified or not, we're hearing of some gold and some plane. It's all over social media. These are the things we should be speaking to about that. So this is what should concern people. We are not, we want the best for our country under President Hakainde Hichilema, particularly because he promised us a better Zambia. He promised that things were, the cost of living was going to be lowered under his administration. That's what we're asking for. So I think those are the issues which you stick to and debate and analyze and judge the new Dawn government's 2 years in office with the promises they made and what they are doing. At least if they tell us, no, they have difficulties, let them give us a way forward, what we are doing, and time frames. He used to tell us that, you need to have time frames of when you are going to deliver this. Let them give us the same graphs and the same, points they were giving us, and give specific time frames to that, so we can start lifting. That's what we want. I think that's not too much to ask for.
Yeah. No, thank you, my brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Thank you. Well, Faith has put it very well that probably the president should have declared, national disaster because of what we are going through. He has highlighted that the issues are very, very serious. And there's another call. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Shanwa Rogers, where are you calling us from? Good Samba, Mkwai, make your contributions.
Naisanga pakati programu. Therefore, kusaba for contribution pali airport tibalelanda ba kaindo hote ni sausage airport.
Mkwai.
Number innocent therefore kwipisha kusakati. Gatilangeko icho bakulapo bena pali 2 years. Gatilangeko pali 2 years icho bakulapo. Paroti tisho kwati kanshwe na barebo MPS nono ba PF barebo MPS ngi misuse. Bantu efena isho na usakwati. When you like cheap labor, Mr. Paisa Murepanga fintisha kwa chala develop mchalo. So bakaindenga barete mwefintisha cheap labor barekondema na wati bale ivempia. Nishwe na eba lata mpoku ivempia tabeshe baretita.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's about for 2 years. Because every time and then after every year, but I CDF. So I try and get off a CDF. Nice comment and something is out the CDF. But try and get a cooler for 2 years. Bantu me point to Tawama. But I'm not president, but if you show very condemn now, that is bad.
Yeah.
What to do, yeah? What about Toto?
Thank you very much. Yes, I didn't comment about the airport, but I think it's time that I commented about the airport. That airport was built at a cost of $365 million. It's fashioned around the eagle, the fish eagle. Remember, the fish eagle is one of our national symbols. You have the coat of arms, and you have... so it's not a sausage, it's a national symbol. Good evening. Oh, okay. We lost him. Hope they can call back. Yeah. Hope they can call back, and let me reduce the volume so that our people are not disturbed. So here are some of the features. Number one is a construction of a 4 million capacity international terminal with 6 bridges. It also has a construction of a 100-seater hotel. There's a hotel behind Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. There is a construction of an office park and shopping mall. So Zambia National Airports were given a 3-story building, and opposite Zambia Air Force, there's opposite that entrance, there's a brand new shopping mall that has been built across. They were trying to make the airport an ecosystem where sometimes people don't have to go into town. You've been to many international airports that you can do your business within the airport. That was the purpose of that. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, sorry, I'm back again, Rogers.
Kwaiba Rogers.
Yes.
Mm.
Fertilizer ikabwela, but number one itabaishile lunda ni fertilizer nankene malite 17 ya pali 16 this feel to arrest muli 17 16 kwat complete 30 kwat unga pa number tresango kwati ni 329 mulusaka umse baresti unga abantu but ni farmer uri president ni farmer arrest opposite and that is foolishness. Kulfyanya kuria sinti ulela ya bantu arrest opposite. Una bafiru aba tiposen kwa mano ba president wes na tiposen kwa mano. Eri election ile fwaika. Leo na ule chalo, leo na ule setwale bomba ba PF. Waisa mko na ulava. Waisa mko building awe. That's
Thank you. I was just giving the details of the airport, why it cost $365 million. That there was construction of a hotel at the back. There's a construction of a shopping mall and a 3-story building. There's a construction of rescue and fire service station. It was upgraded. There's a construction of a presidential terminal. There's an independent terminal than the one that ordinary passengers use. There's a construction of a landslide and airside driveways. When you're going into the airport, you have to go up and then come down. So those are called landslide and airside driveways. There's also a construction of a 39-meter high air traffic tower and a new radar system that was installed. There was the rehabilitation of Zambia Air Service Training Institute, ZASTI. There was a new construction of an airport fuel farm that can store a lot of fuel because that's an international airport and you're anticipating huge traffic. Okay, there's another call. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Yes, Mr. Jos Scambo. Yes, sir. Yes. Mkwai.
Ero twamwene fo batolairo kwa batakabunga ni 50 kwa sitwa kitekero kwa bati pakwa tifiba ko kwere mu opposition na be kibe finti barera ndapo nombe cha papusha na pavunga tabatarara ndapo dola lineyo balairo kutira for kuma 10 ngana sasoya ini by 14 hours ya bwela parapene mwaishirire pa 15 tabatara iwe shapo iwere kopano mawe ini na 18 20 19 18 point chako tie don't feel basa lunde bala irokwe bati feel ngabwesha pati 12 kwacha like if I'm a businessman kwena tole chula bantu profit nomba tatole kwata msango wa ma transport elonga mwalunda sana futa abantu tabareshita so for too much more capital tole chulira mopaga batufume kunoya kurusaka waletse tegero kunina 200 nomba 380 na 400
yes
kanshi tole chura kana besa awabalela ndabarebe pa kuikosere shafye abana mumasukulu yo free education amasukulu nicho mwalipangira amasukulu ayenga tamaya apangire nama teachers ngatabayingishe ngabaye bisa mukusambirisha abana bali full mu classes na mwena umwana okumuchonga Facebook ni after 3 to 4 days zero bamuchonge book tule chura text ni bete pant for kwenda ma big family ubunga 300 bamweshi ushite 4 bags eno ndiniyo security ule fola 1000 wala kwanishasha ninga ndakusongera twabukire obushiku kuya mukuvota tuchinjeko bati twasa muno kwe bati tapali fresh kwati ile palo andi so tapali for the extra benefit me vote yandero na vote bakaramu that's why nangu balungu baenda tureba lira ukubalira rekeni ndande muchikalwala twakuba shinganyeka chikoma bana nande chibemba wala muna kwati ndeve pobufe twakuba shinganyeka chikoma balungu twakubalira nawo liri ngabali kweto kutini kyakubwera ngabali bwera bata yerera ku bantu filafine shamakati asebale chichunganya abantu bwasa bwalipo indala mashali all over mu Zambia tule ufati barengisha abantu nomba ifeta tule chimone nchito ama roads kuno wese ntamone kwati murimbi tamwapo sere kwa mano but bena na lelo ama roads tapaji file chitika so tapaji fi wemefe buchalo mwandi ubunga singa bwanyi na fish shala wama umwana mchaya ku school nesala ansanye no takayesambirira bwino nangula techa yasambirire bwino so praise to papata ikatana eniko imwebene mwebaliko tuchitekereko pakutira tumone ifi effort ingachita ku 2026 kwantu ubunga bulitu amatabaresta tuweike ubunga 300 by December twakolasta 500 then next year farmers na wena bakafuka kubalundirako so ubunga nabunina nachita takuri opportunity yako bati babweshi bala ubweza cyane bakaramu no mwali mu government mwali bomba mu mwali shibe file chitika ukubwesha fyo ubunga bubwere kandi bazike ku substitute nomba na wena bali kana nomba amalaiti nishi balungira amalaiti foot wae biroko bati amalaiti nenkabwesha balunda connection fee Sintu shifi suma ese tumwene kwa bati na bachitabuino ni free education na ena free education nomba eya tuchusha nomba kuchishilana pa uchushe ulemu to alipo that's why abantu mule mfagaleri dirabengi baleri lokwe bati tumwene kwa chiyu ewa la tunubula mwebusha tulimo kuli bapia fukasa tuwali mwebusha ujalise bwino ete ture munakashi na fweba wamekupa ufube na Zambia umulomo weswe walengo kuirekerera fionsira walera ndebakambwiri ero nashinikisha bantu bakambwiri balilandira ati aba bantu balishupa lelo twamona takwa aba president ushikwecho olusu ba Mr. Kainde kazen one kwate lipo lusekuvunga mutu mweshe kusobunga fwe bashibomba nishikapo ichabo chawamako
Thank you very much from Soleza. I'm grateful. Thank you. The Milimu cries are very, very painful to our people and even to any listener. But look at government's response. They want to export more Milimu. I think under Zambia National Service, they've even collected a $15 million dollars down payment towards the export. I think it's a $50 million dollar deal, and they collected $15 million already from the DRC. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello?
Good evening.
I'm Joseph.
Yes, Mr. Joseph. Where are you calling us from?
Calling you from within the farm.
Yes, Mr. Joseph. Make your contribution, sir.
Yes, sir. Let me applaud the immediate previous speaker. What he has just said is what I was also, but let me add one or two.
Mm-hmm.
We have to call a spade.
Yeah.
It is. We are now in a world where people just want to even argue over things they can see. Is it not the president himself, in his own language, in his own words, who said Mirimi is going to be at 50 kwacha?
Mm-hmm.
If that 50 kwacha meant 300, let him come out in the open and say, I did not mean the 50 kwacha.
Mm-hmm.
I meant 300. The same with the fuel. He should have just come up in the open to say, no, I thought when I was saying these things, I would find the world to be rosy. Kashi, you could take a one too, charge super. Why is he not just admitting that it's not an easy undertaking? So that he can even learn from those who are in the government. Now, the stance they have taken is those who are in government did not do a good job. Now, if they did not do a good job, then you do a good job yourself. And that's where we have a problem. These so-called depressed singers, they are also hungry. Unless them, they are okay. But they are making a lot of noise just because they want to be heard. The minimum crisis is a national disaster. It started 3, 4, 5 months ago. They exported maize to Congo. Here we are now. This is where we are. And you said that the minimum is going to be brought down. It's not true. The minimum has already reached where it is. And to bring it to 50 kwacha, I doubt whether that is going to be practical. I will talk about also the airport. Surely, how would you rate your friends? Sometimes it's not good to condemn everything. You know, that's the same airport where you go and jump on those planes every time we see you flying. And the same planes come to land. Why don't you say, let me go and land on somewhere else where it's not a sausage airport? Surely we can even condemn our own things. Well, a white man will never like us. Who said a white man is going to like us? No. As long as we are going to be thinking these lines to say only a white man is going to come and make our life easy, we are wasting time. We will not develop. Why can't we also develop on our own? Do the things that we have now should help us now move forward. But what do we see? We are just hearing, no, this they didn't do well. They didn't do well. Now, do what you think is right then, so that people stop complaining. And really, they know it's a national disaster. What about those people who don't work? I can imagine those who work are also complaining. What about those who don't work? And it seems there's no one who is paying attention. They are just what I can call politicking every time. Now others are even saying, yes, we agree the minimum price is high. But they are not saying, okay, this is bringing it down. So what do they expect people to say? They expect people to be saying no, because they know. What is it? What is capitalism feeding people? There's nothing. Whether it's there or not, as long as people are hungry, there is nothing in what capitalism is going to help us. Let's just find a solution of how people are going to be helped. 90 or if not 80% of Zambians are poor. That's a fact. So why are we trying to hide in this whatever politics or what? So just accept we have a problem. They should even ask people in the government how we are. Now the problem we have is when you have the person call themselves know it all, they would always want to claim as though they are angels when they are not. They They are supposed to find a solution. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you very much. Yes, the broken promises. The president was very ambitious with his promises. In many cases, he posted on his own page, on his own Twitter page, and he used to go on radio and TV and speak to these promises. The promise on cheaper mealie meal, he said it would cost around 50 kwacha. The promise on fuel, that it shouldn't go beyond 12 kwacha per litre. He promised to reduce the electricity tariffs. Look at the price of electricity. The exchange rate, he promised stability and that it should cost below 12 kwacha. He said he would reduce, thank you. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Kindly mute your other device and tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Please call back. My advice is when you call, kindly mute your device so that we don't have feedback and we can have a wonderful conversation. The numbers to call are 0773 84 1872 or 773 783 785. So the president had promised that he would be giving 8 bags of fertilizer per farmer. This hasn't come to reality. We saw medals. There are other promises. And then on the airport that he called a sausage airport, I think the president hasn't been briefed properly what constituted the $365 million. There was an office park, a 3-story office park for the Zambia Airport Corporation. There was a new shopping mall that has been built. There's a new hotel that is just behind the hotel. Then there was the construction of a 39-meter high air traffic control tower and a new radar system. There was rehabilitations done to the air school, the ZAST school, Zambia Air Services Training Institute. There was a construction of an airport cargo terminal. There was also a construction of an aircraft maintenance hangar. There was a construction of an airport fuel farm. Then there was a construction of a standalone presidential terminal. So to call that sausage, I think the president needed to be briefed properly, and that can be a sausage because it's fashioned on the fish eagle. If you see, that's like a bird flying. It's not a sausage at all. And just these attacks of your predecessor. This is a trouble with African presidents. We don't want to build on what our predecessors have done. You know, Kenneth Kaunda builds, Dr. Chiluba comes with his own new program and abandons, scandalizes the issue of Dr. Kaunda and his programs. Mwanawasa comes, scandalizes the program of his predecessor, Chiluba, you know. Rupia Banda, same. Michael Sata, same. Now we've seen the only one who kept former presidents well was Edgar Lungu. We had 2 presidents in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and Rupia Banda, and he was very moderate and encouraged them to participate in national affairs. This one spends a lot of time speaking about Edgar Lungu, worried about Edgar Lungu, scandalizing his programs, scandalizing the infrastructure that this country is proud of. Kenneth Kaunda International Airport won an award, an international award, as the best airport in Africa, yet our president is scandalizing it. When it comes to critical issues, electricity has been increased. Connection fees from 700 kwacha to 7,500. Look at the price of fuel. It has jumped from 17 kwacha to 27 kwacha. The entire list of what the president promised, other than CDF, free education, and meal allowances, his successes are so thin, they are very difficult to speak to, especially in light of the high cost of living that our people are facing. The president has been 2 years in office. Is he offering hope to you? I want to hear from you. There are many critical issues, especially the shortages of medicines, medical supplies and laboratory reagents for, for those important medical tests before you are healed. And then there's equipment failure. The last 2 years is the lost 2 years, especially when you talk about KCM and Mopani. Nothing has come to it. It's been 2 years. And there's failure to resolve the issues of Mopani. The agricultural sector has heavily been bungled because what FRA, Food Reserve Agency, did was to export our strategic reserves, and the national reserves are so thin, they can't intervene with these high prices. Fertilizer itself is distributed very late. There's been a promise that there'll be some local fertilizer. I hope we can pay attention to the quality, because there was a complaint of quality last year. And but that's base of fertilizer. What about top dressing? There's been a capture of civil society and cooperating partners where they sing praises to government. And my dear brother, Dr. Sishua, wrote an extensive article talking about this civil society, how they've abandoned their roles. They've been on a queue to get jobs, and the few that are speaking for government. They are not independent. They are not speaking freely. And it's been 2 years. The civil society, which helped President Hakainde Hichilema win elections. Some of civil society leaders have been given jobs at Bank of Zambia, at ministries, and others. It's like the others are also in a queue to get jobs, and they are quiet, again, to the detriment of our people. They are quiet to the development of our democracy. And the cooperating partners have been another set of culprits, especially the British High Commissioner on his remarks on issues of corruption. I think he was extremely partisan, Nicholas Woolley. And Michael C. Gonzalez, he was at the Luanza ceremony in Chief Amusonde's, chiefdom. This is the ceremony of the Lundwe people of Wengwa, and you should see the patronizing remarks towards the president. So, yes, we want things to work. Yes, we want the president to succeed, but there's no need to bootlick him. There's no need to fail to tell him the truth. So let me hear from you, 0773-783-785 and 0773-841872. That's for WhatsApp. You can reach us on those two numbers and make your contributions. We'll play a video of maize shortage, meal shortage in Kabwe. Just play that video, just for 2 minutes, just to remind our people of what we are discussing. Are we ready? So we are reviewing President Hakainde Hichilema.
The shortage of meal in Kabwe has persisted with thousands queuing up to buy the commodity as early as 5 a.m. in the morning at ShopRite and Simba Milling.
Nga twashupikwa ala kukomboni bale chita 220 bambi 210 so le kukulomba kula pangama line kweba tsimbi tushiteko obongo bwachi
kwaba so nomba twayamba ile nshira ya kudala ya mu fedro ya kwandati twamba kula bula mabunga twetantama line no kulala panoa okwetu pepi kula buko bushiku kisa mutatu atantikiro bunga batanta mine pabunga bantu ine life ya kutantamina pabunga abantu balafira mungata control situation bantu amamirazi nabakwata amabunga bena balafirisha bana ukutati ukukwa so kulinsala batwala baposi kwa mano bafurishe ko namuno mukabwe ukutati amabunga yafure mu shops tule kitanga cyo kutetwa bafwe kupera abantu amabunga
ifura wanu kufuma 01 ino nshata turashito bunga mshato wala ikalashani aho mwandi onka tulesha abana abanono twabasha tweza mukongera bunga kuno natuchula twalomba twapapa tatwesheni ko mwabuteko
ngata kuli ni munu mwine mwituke lili lya ShopRite emo buleisa mukombo nitamuli ubunga mukombo ni balesha 280 250 akasaka kawe.
During a radio program in Kabwe, opposition Democratic Party leader.
Thank you very much. And I noticed that the Premier League is on and our people could be watching football. But let's discuss briefly. So we might end at 21:30, but we are discussing the 2 years in office by President Hakainde Hichilema. And it's been characterized by broken promises. He said milimi will cost 50 kwacha per 25 kg. Look at the price of milimi, it's in excess of 300 kwacha. He said fuel will cost at 12 kwacha. Of course, it's not possible. His fuel is now 27 kwacha. He said he would reduce electricity tariffs. We have seen connection fees have jumped from 700 kwacha to 7,500 kwacha. He said would give 8 bags of fertilizer per farmer. This hasn't come. And because of the chaos in the agriculture sector, our people are even receiving medals for the first time in literally in 60 years. He said would repeal and replace the Cyber Security and Cyber Crimes Act. This law is now being used against the opposition, members of the opposition. You saw Fred Membe was arrested and the charges are similar, based on that. Our young people who are unemployed, you saw graduates wearing their gowns going to vote and see they are waiting for jobs. Yes, there's been some recruitment, but in the Defense Force, it hasn't really been transparent because our people continue to complain, especially on social media. So our young people still remain unemployed. Even if you employ 40,000, you have up to 7 million people unemployed. So you can see that's a drop in the ocean. The PF had employed about 35,000 health workers alone, but this is a period of 5 years. There's an issue of the airport, the sausage airport. So I bothered to establish what made the airport cost at $365 million. Number one, there was a construction of a 4 million capacity international terminal with 6 bridges. Those are the bridges. Construction of a 30-room in transit passenger hotel and 70-room non-transit passenger hotel. So there's a hotel at the back of the airport there with 100-room capacity. There was a construction of office park for Zambia Airports Corporation and a shopping mall. You've seen it. It's opposite the entrance of Zambia Air Force when you're going to the airport. There was a construction of a rescue and fire services station. There was an upgrade of the water and power reticulation. So power was upgraded, big transformers placed, and then the water facilities were also given huge capacity. There was a construction of landslide and airside driveways, those to my flyovers when you're going in and going out. And then there was a construction of a new car park. There was rehabilitation of the Zambia Air Services Training Institute. There was the construction of an airport cargo terminal. There was a construction of aircraft maintenance. And there was a construction of an airport farm. And then there's a construction of a standalone presidential terminal. That's what cost $365 million. So please call us on 0773 783 785 and 0773 841872. Some people have sent the messages. Let me just have the power bank. My phone will go flat. Thank you. Please make a call. We are reviewing President Hakainde Hichilema's 2 years in office, and we are saying the failures and successes, and we are scoring him. And what do you think? The economic solutions he has deployed don't seem to be working. Civil society had even called for an endeavor that our people could then participate, probably in giving alternative solutions. And this hasn't come to be. There was a lot of euphoria in 2021, and people were very expectant that he will attend to the issues of the economy and underlying issues of poverty, diseases, unemployment, and the bad economy. Please call on 09773 I think our phones are working today. 0773 783 785 and 0773 841 872. Let's hear your views about the review of President Hakainde Hichilema's 2 years in office and the new dawn government. Or 0773 783 785 or 773 841 872. Critical issues, shortages of medicines, medical supplies, and laboratory reagents. If you've been to the hospital or any health facility, you testify this challenge. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Mkwaiba Mishek Nyurenda. Landenipo.
Mkwai. Ala mwewa chashi itarona chonaika. Upnd ba presidenti ne akubare tinga pari 2 years tapado fo bashita na fimu na nangu fimu awe. Na mwamu no bungo fo budulira abantu bare chura mu chalo. Ubunga bwali pari 110, ubunga buli pari shinga pari 305 within 2 years. After abantu abakashana abantu booth bali bafumisha booth without notice. Araba Emmanuel Mwamba ifile isika mutalo tafiweme. Aranga twalishile ngatwashitene FIF. Alamwandi nabantu barechula nafwe tulechula. Teri ashija kufisa no kufisawe. So baakainde ba president bafuri baloshepa abantu bawo kutema ama-foreigner zawe. Icharo te company, icharo non-profit making organization, te kupanga profit pacharo wawe, babachusha bene Zambia. Apanderanda abantu bamataito dida bali pitisha 1,000 within 2 weeks. Nombo muntu obafunya mu street, obafunya mu maposi, aba makombo balifunya kwisindala me akulipira within 2 weeks. Arabwasha maniti mwanforo sofu balechura abantu arabombesheni ababene Zambia marubuke because icharo charao na ikila ku 2 years free education by Emmanuel Mwambanga marosha pali noshita aba nesu kubasungu ni technology sector baleshita mo invest number free education as at now modern with na technology tetibombe bwinwawe Tweranda abana b'eskulu kufule kwa ama computer digital marketing mafule kula asambirira nombe school yara kwata shana ama instrument ya chemistry kula make sure chose fetafire sangwa ku mashukuru akare fetwalete yako na bora mashukuzi inoshira mashukuzi ya feto kushita host bora twarase ndashana abantu abakuyangu kushita compete kubasungu ku bora World Cup, Africa Cup, yala shani develop, yala panta shani sports because kuma schools takulinda lama. Free education ngali bombele bwino kuli bajaba aba mu mishi. Kulanda balaba teach bakwanishe balya abachura kumushi bakuvuga free education. Then muno munane kali mu town. Fingi file location hapo teko ati abantu nomati bale bipira konangwa ati 200 peye. Yakwati balewa mishako bale fureshako bagadi shani fingi fwaika nangu even like a simple business by Emmanuel Mwamba kale fwaike mpya pa kuchika kabombe kebuno nombenda na ishile limbia after 6 months kuchi mwana ninga shani school ya Musango nangu after 3 months because the school is an organization ile fwaike mpya for it to run smoothly. So if you try to rubana na direction that we should know today amandi nacho naika tapana vutu ngashita appreciate mandini CDF ya vela pepa 28 million and then baba Emmanuel 28 million nabaide tena kunoko njikara ku Kabwe Central kalonga wati takwa ba market mukabata mwakwa lelo ba meya bachi ku radio abantu batamfya mu street kuno kukagweta kwa market takwa hapo na market ya modern market hapo pona ya pene kompani nipo na milimu yenu Emmanuel Mwamba.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nemkai.
Okay, Mishek from Cabo is speaking for vendors is right. An audit should have been done, and we should have established if we have enough market stands and market stores. And like he has said, there are no markets, adequate market and market facilities, especially in Cabo, where street vendors have been thrown out of the streets, and their booths that they spend a lot of money at great cost also removed. And he talked about title deeds. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Oh, we lost that caller. So, Mishek, I agree with you that an audit should have been done. We should have established how many market stands and market stores are available, so that when you remove people from the streets, they will have alternatives, not to deprive them of that income. What we saw in Kasama today, that traders were also, and street vendors were also removed from the central business district in Kasama. So what we are not hearing is alternative trading spaces. Do we have proper trading spaces? And why won't you and me go to these markets? First of all, there are no parking spaces for you to leave your car comfortably, and they are not even secure in many cases. So people, choose to shop from the streets, and that's why the allure of the street is that the markets themselves have broken down. No public toilets, no security, so the municipalities, before they chase our people, need to do some of these basic requirements. So thank you very much, Mishek from Kabwe. You also talked about title deeds that they are paying. I don't know what's happening to the title deeds issues, but I will find out. I think it's this titling exercise that is being done by Ministry of Lands, and they've modernized, and I think they put either an agency or a new program to deal with the issuance of title deeds. And he says it's expensive, especially for the traders and vendors who've been removed from the street. So call us on 0773 783 785 and 0773 841872. Make your calls so that as we begin to wind down, we know you are watching football, that we can allow you to watch your football. Call us on 0773 783 785 or 0773 841 872. Today we are discussing, we have a caller. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, Mamba.
Mkwai. Ni 2,200.
Yes, 2,200. And nibarefa muli 2 weeks jovene basiranda ba misheki muli 2 weeks nomba kwali baba shibomba naba ikalama citizen ba mtown mudia tababomba ba fyashi bakaenda bamobamu balafu myakwisa ma 2,000.
Okay.
Balafu myakwisa ma 2,000. This is Rogers from Samba. Yes, I'm tukara kukabona ine nomba mbombra sipa Samba.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Rogers. Thank you, Rogers, for the insight. New land titling project where they are giving title deeds, especially to former houses, especially for state-owned enterprises and the council. So they've said they've given a deadline that people have to pay this 2,200 in a period of 2 weeks for them to get the titles. I think that deadline is not fair, and the Minister of Lands should look at it, should give our people adequate time before they put these deadlines, because our people are struggling. There is no money in the economy, and to give them they want the title deeds, but doesn't mean that you have to punish them by these impossible deadlines of 2 weeks. Where will our people get this 2,200 kwacha? Because they are already struggling. So thank you, Mishek, and thank you, Rogers from Samba, who has put clarification to that matter. Electricity is expensive. Fuel is expensive. A milimi is expensive. Which is costing in excess of 300 kwacha. Economic and macro solutions have failed on issues of KCM and Mopani in the agricultural sector. And the health sector has been a disaster, especially with the shortages of medicines, medical supplies, laboratory reagents, and there has been equipment failure. There are few of us speaking, few of us speaking, because civil society, I think, is still looking for jobs. A few that have been given jobs, like the other set, are also waiting to get jobs. And Dr. Sishua did an analysis on why our civil society is dead. He gave the various observations that you should take care of. President Hakainde Hichilema came on a huge euphoria. He was Mr. Fix-It, and he had come to fix the crisis of the economy. But 2 years on, I think he's failing, and he's failing lamentably. To this issue, civil society grouping in their statement the other week even proposed an economic endeavor that the president should hear from various stakeholders. If you are quite you have your own, you think you are the only one that is wise, it doesn't work. Involve others. Let's hear these solutions. IMF and World Bank have not worked. Okay, my producer, I think let's call it a day. Let's end here. What we'll do is we'll play the videos that we played at the beginning, all of them, starting with the president swearing in, and the other videos, and the minimum shortages, and then we continue with the conversation. I will pick it up, I think, on Wednesday. This should be a topic for the next few weeks. Let's review the UPND in office. What have they done better? What have they done badly? What could be improved? What should they abandon? Let's have that discussion. So may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you. And may he be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace as you say good night. See you on Wednesday. God bless you. I'll leave you with these videos and then my signature tune. God bless you.
I, Hakainde Hichilema, having been constitutionally elected to the office of the President of the Republic of Zambia, do swear that I will faithfully and diligently discharge my duties and perform the functions in this high office, that I will uphold and maintain the Constitution and the laws of Zambia, and that I will dedicate my abilities to the service and welfare of the people of Zambia without fear, favor, or ill will. So help me God.
A tidbit of what this copper belt was. The journey we walked, the tear gas, so many things. One time after alela ndata alebwererapo nakabiri aletupuma 22-year-old girl Mapenzi Chibulo. We had a police permit and a bullet was put at the back of her head. That bullet was meant for me. So when muntu alela ndata ndebwererapo, what does he think I am? What does he think you are? What does he think the children of Joseph Kaunda, Lawrence Banda, Mapenzi Chibulo, Gracia Matapa, what does he think about those women who were thrown in a cell together with me. Nishi ujale tuntunkanya olo nishi. Must not misunderstand each other in this country. We must not misunderstand each other in this country. We must not abuse each other in this country. Ndekutika. All the time I'm listening, I said, these people. Uche, bale tontonkanya tatwa kwa tamano.
The shortage of meal in Kawe has persisted, with thousands queuing up to buy the commodity as early as 5 a.m. in the morning at ShopRite and Simba Milling.
Unga twashupi kwa ala kukombo ni vale chita 220 bambi 210. So le kukulomba kula pangama line kweba tsimbi tushiteko bongo bwachi.
Kwaba. So nomba twayamba ile nshira ya kudala ya mu Fedro ya kwandati. Twamba kula bula mabunga twetantama line no kula la panoa okwetu pepi. Kula buko bushiku kisa mutatu atantikiro bunga batanta mine pabunga. Bantu ine life ya kutantamina pabunga. Abantu balafira mungata control situation panto ama mirasi nabakwata amabunga bena balafirisha bana ukutati ukukwa so kulinsala batwala baposi kwa mano bafirishe kuna muno mukabwe ukutati amabunga yafule mu shops tule kitanga cya kutetwa bafwe kupera abantu amabunga
wanu kufa 01 ino nshaka turashito bunga chatwala ikalashani awo mwandi onka tulesha abana abanono twabasha twaiza mukongera bunga kuno na tuchula twalomba twapapa tatwesheni kwa mwabuteko
ngata kuli ni munu mwine mwituke lili lya ShopRite emo buleisa mukombo nitamuli bunga mukombo ni balesha 280 250 akasaka kamu.
During a radio program in Kawe, Opposition Democratic Party leader Hari Kalaba has urged government to be proactive in addressing the issue of meal shortages and high prices.
Meal is a staple food. It's a very staple food. And the government should take interest, keen interest, in ensuring that this problem is investigated thoroughly so that it is not looked at as being an artificial problem.
Meanwhile, government says the meal shortages in Kawe is artificial.
And I'm telling the country that we will have very good news in a very few months, because we are getting serious support from the government of Zambia by giving us opportunity to ship maize from Zambia to Kenya. I am getting land to grow maize to bring to Kenya. As a short term, immediate measure to address the problem, because we can grow maize, they can grow maize in 4 months. I want to tell you, by the end of August, we will have brought down the cost of unga to less than 120 shillings. We are not negotiating. I'm even going extra miles in contracting farmers to do farming for me. In another few weeks, I'm going there to give farmers contracts to do maize for me to buy to bring to Kenya. Whatever they produce, I will take, because the cost of production in Zambia is quite low. I am going to get a ton of,
what percentage compared to
my friend, I'm getting $300 per ton. If you were to work out that arithmetic, $300 per ton means what? Is when you say